If I asked you, what does a healthy sex life look inside of a marriage? What does that look like? What do you think of?
First of all, I think that's a big question to
It is a
ask,
huge
even
question.
on this whole topic of sex and marriage, just because of the world that we live in, because of how we started and how when we first got married, what we thought about it,
Right.
and the last 14 years of the roller coaster in our sex life as a healthy married couple, which we weren't always healthy. We're healthy now, but we
Right.
weren't always healthy.
Right.
So let me ask this question one more time, just make sure we're on the same page. You're asking me, what do I think sex should look like in a healthy marriage,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
or what should it feel like?
No, but it's,
No,
well, I mean, all of the
and look
above.
like,
Okay.
right? Okay,
All right.
that's
What's
a
up, y'all? We're so glad you have joined us for this conversation. It's going to get a little deep. We're going to talk about some things, but
we're gonna have a real conversation
we're
about
going to have
sex in a
a
marriage.
real conversation. But our goal, honestly, is to not be vulgar. It is to be vulnerable. And we feel like this conversation isn't had enough. And so it's not an easy conversation to have
Right?
on a platform like this. It's
No,
like,
yeah,
my hands are sweating a
it's
little
not.
bit.
And there are a lot of great conversations that are out there right now on YouTube. We've watched quite a bit. We've listened to other podcasters and other people that we look up to, and respect, and we've listened to their take on sex in a marriage, and some of it has helped us out.
Yeah.
And so this is our conversations in our household, things that we've discovered, how we've overcome in our situation. And sex hasn't always been the same in our marriage.
Yeah.
It hasn't always been the same. It's actually changed a lot over the last few years. I'd say over the last 3-4 years, it's changed so much, and
Yeah.
it's not what I ever thought it would be. I'm not gonna lie. We get married, and you think like, oh man, I'm being have sex with the same person for the rest of my life, and that thought is crazy to think.
Yeah.
But it's blown our mind of where we've come in our sex life. So I'm cool with it, man. Let's dig.
Let's dig. So, what were some of the things that you came into when you got married of like what you thought marriage would look like at the beginning?
Yeah, that's wild, first of all, because that's a hard question to answer. You just asked me two big questions at the top of this
What else
conversation.
do you want? This is the conversation.
We both came into our marriage with a bunch of baggage. I think what was tough was we didn't really talk about what we thought in our mind towards each other, what sex would look like.
That's true. We
And
didn't talk about
so
it.
especially, and then being raised in the church world, you did not talk about
That
sex.
puts a whole nother layer
You
on
did
it.
not talk about sex. You talked about purity. We
Right.
talked about we talked about abstaining from sex, not having anything to do with it. And then one day when you become someone's spouse, you're supposed to give it all up to them.
I think that is one of the hardest things for women in church as followers of Jesus,
Yeah.
that we are taught to like shove all that sexuality down, like turn it off, don't pay attention to it, don't listen to it. And then all of a sudden get married and turn it all on and have sex whenever your husband asks for it.
I mean, in the Bible, like even talks about how in Corinthians, Paul talks about how your body don't even belong to you anymore.
That's crazy. Both ways.
Both ways, yeah.
Husband
you're right.
and wife.
Both ways. So to get married, going into marriage with that thought of like, okay, her body doesn't belong to her. It's mine. My body don't belong to me. It's hers. We're one now. And I'm supposed to think that you're thinking everything I'm thinking when it comes to sex.
Right.
And then, I'll be honest with you, babe. When we got married, like I thought I had a good understanding of what sex should be like. Like I wasn't into porn or anything like that. I'll say this, and we'll talk about this later. Porn really didn't enter my life until after marriage.
That's so crazy.
Porn didn't enter my life until after marriage.
That's crazy.
And so we go into this thinking like, okay, anything that I thought about sex or anything that I thought about girls or anything like that, I'm going to do it all to my wife.
Right.
And I remember we had some weird, awkward moments when we talked about it. I mean, even honeymoon night. First of all, honeymoon night, we didn't even have sex. We went to sleep because we were tired.
We
and
only
we
had
both were
3
sick.
hours.
And we both were sick.
We were sick on our wedding
Yeah,
day.
let's talk about that. I'm going to answer your question a little bit later. I know some people are listening like, hey, he didn't even answer the question of what did he bring into it. I'll tell you what I brought into it. I brought into it nothing.
Baggage.
Nothing. Because no one told me anything about sex. No one told me anything about on what it would look like in the context of marriage. So I
Right.
came into it thinking it's a big mess. I came into it thinking like, yes, I can get sex anytime I want. It don't matter what day it is. It doesn't matter if she's awake or if she's asleep. That's
It's so wrong.
that's what I thought when
That's
we first,
wild.
like, you know what I mean?
That's true.
And
I
then
get that.
and then I thought, I'll say this too. I thought when we got married, I thought that, there would not be any morning breath, or that everything would always be nice and peachy and rosy all the time. And I could just be like, knock, knock. And you'd be like, who's there? And be like, daddy, let's go.
I did think that sex life would be easy. Like,
Sure.
that the hard part was to not have sex before you get married, but the easy part is once you get married, you get to have sex.
Yeah.
And that I never thought that there would be so many ebbs and flows of what season you're in, what like pregnancy looks like after babies.
Yeah.
Like, I never knew that it would actually take so much effort on my part, even down to, sex is made for three things. It is made for a physical connection, an emotional connection, and a spiritual connection.
Yeah.
And I never knew how much work it would cause, like in my emotions and in my spiritual side, to like forgive,
Mm.
to let walls down. Like, it is a constant job, I feel like, for women, or at least for me, to like make sure I put my walls down when it comes to you, when I am
Yeah.
hurt and I tell you, because you could do something that accidentally hurt my feelings and you won't know it. It wasn't intentional.
Right.
But until I tell you, guess what? I'm not wanting to have sex with you.
Yeah.
So I have to tell you, I have to put those walls down. I have to forgive. We talked about it in another episode a few weeks ago of like going to bed together, that a lot of times that's when I'll open up or I'll share something with you.
Mhm.
And so it is so that we can have that emotional connection, that spiritual connection, and then the physical connection is the
Yeah.
benefit of it.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize how much work would go into it.
It's a lot of work. I don't honestly think we had conversation about sex until, I'd say a year or so into our marriage.
Yeah, probably.
We just didn't talk about it. We just did it.
It's very true.
We just did it. And if it was awkward, if it didn't make sense, or one enjoyed it, the other one didn't enjoy it, we just didn't really talk about it. And there was no one to talk about it to. There was no
So true.
There was no spaces or environments to comfortably talk about, especially for us being in the church world. You just don't talk
You just
about
don't
it.
talk about
And
it.
then, unfortunately, and I know it's changing, but it's changing now. But unfortunately, then 15 years ago, like, people didn't openly talk about their marriage problems and situations
No
in the church.
way.
So you just would look to people, you would look to your leaders, and you just think they were all good, but they weren't telling you, you weren't telling. We all just showed up. Hey, how you doing? Good. You guys good? Yeah, we're good. We're good. Everybody good. Good.
Blessed and highly favored. We're all good.
Yeah. Well, Dane, I guess we're all good.
It's
But then
very
that made
true.
us think that we're broken, because we walked into the place thinking like, but we're not good.
But we're not good. Or I don't get it. Or, for me, it was a big process and a big journey coming from the purity stages of growing up in that purity culture. And
Mhm.
I did have a purity ring from my parents and all these things. And then I get married. So then I think I'm actually supposed to pull all these other outside influences that are out in the world. I'm supposed to bring that home.
Right.
The good old saying,
Yeah.
I think a wise man wrote it one time. It said, a lady in the streets and a freak in the sheets. Like,
Right.
that's what I thought I was supposed to be.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I didn't know that those were actually outside influences as well. And that the world will always tell us a perverted version
Mhm.
of what God created.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we didn't have the knowledge
We
to
didn't have-
decipher that.
Yeah, so we didn't talk about it. Like, we didn't really have moments. I do remember us, a few years into it. And then just getting married and, the world that we live in. It's so much is implied. Think about it. Bridal showers.
Mhm.
What type of gifts are brought to bridal showers?
For sure. There was one that I got gifted. I got a few like outfits and things like that. And I remember one of the outfits I wore for you one time, and it completely changed my view of you.
Yeah.
Because I met you in Bible college. I met you as a musician in the church. I met you on staff. And then that one time I wore the gift from my bridal shower. And I remember saying like, you're different.
So
Like-
think about this. So here
it
we
really
have
changed so much.
so here we have it. You're getting married. You're not sure what sex is supposed to be like. You have in your mind and you have in your mind what you think it should be. Your bridal shower, all the gifts are implying something. Not all the gifts, majority.
Most of them, yeah.
Yeah, most of the gifts are implying something.
For sure.
So now you're getting these gifts. We're not going to list the gifts, right? Because this is not for you guys to take your imagination a bunch of places and take your mind off what we're talking about. But you get all these gifts from all these special secret places that you almost even feel embarrassed opening it up.
For sure.
And then you bring it home. We get married. I pull out this drawer. I'm like, yo, what's all this stuff?
I mean, that's part of the fun of a bridal shower is that like, oh my gosh, we get to celebrate. This girl gets to take care of business.
Yeah,
like,
but
it's part of that like becoming womanhood. But I really wish that there was more conversation or that young girls. I mean, I was 22, right? I think it was 22 when I got married. Like, no one said like, or not that I could remember. Maybe somebody did, but I didn't walk in there knowing like, hey, here's what you should do for your husband. Here's where the lines are for you to draw for you. Like deeper, real conversations.
Yeah, there were no conversations of like, yo, this is all fun and games. We're playing around with these toys and things like that. But for real though, have a conversation with your husband. Put this stuff in front of him and say, hey, babe, what do you think about this little toy, this little thing right here, this little whip, this plug, whatever. Oh, wait, I said I wasn't going to list anything.
Babe, I said we are not being vulgar.
Yeah, my bad. I just saw it. I just literally saw it from 10, 15 years ago. But now we get married and I see all these things. And in my head, I'm thinking like, oh yeah, okay. And then what happens is we got married and it unlocks this new door to our sexuality.
Yeah. The one that we've shut down for 20 years of our life because we grew up in church.
And then because we had no guide, we just thought, you know what? We're married now. We can do all the things. We're going to list all the things. It was
literally like, we can do whatever we want.
So guys, whatever you're thinking of like, what did they do? Unfortunately, I say unfortunately, we did because we were young, naive, and we didn't know. So we laid out.
Hold on, you don't know what they're thinking.
Some of them are thinking like, what did they do? Okay.
We never let anybody into our marriage. I feel like that needs to be very clear.
Let's pause. So whatever. So there are a lot of things that we either did, tried, considered, entertained, talked about. Like there's stuff we talked about.
That's true.
We messed up so much things about our marriage at the beginning when it came to our sexuality. Like it is literally by the grace of God that we stand here today restored, and sex is better now than it's ever been in our whole marriage.
And we still have the best years to come because the facts are by research, year 15 to year 20 is the best years of a healthy marriage for sex.
Baby, we in year 14 right now. So next year,
we're just on the edge.
It's going to be popping off next year. But when we first got married, so we're young, we're naive, we have no knowledge of sex other than what the world tells us sex should be, right? So now one day we have this bright idea, which not a bright idea, but we're sitting there, we're like, we don't talk about it. So we just start talking about everything, right? All these toys are laid out, right? We've been married for months. We start talking about, well, how do we even use these toys? That opens the door to porn.
Yeah.
And that's what that happened. That happened in our marriage.
Yeah.
So now here we are, young, naive. Here we're watching porn together now as a newlywed. No conviction. We didn't feel bad about it.
Right.
We had no one to talk about it.
We thought that under the covering of marriage, it was good.
We could do whatever we want to do. Hey, this my body / your body. That's your body / my body. We all want to write. If I'm good, you're good. So now we start watching these things, entertaining things. We would watch these things before we go to bed. Yep. That opened up so much darkness when it came to our marriage. And I think that's one of the reasons why our marriage struggled for a few years, for several years, because what we opened it up to, we started going to strip clubs.
We did.
Let's talk about that for a moment. Because some of y'all thinking like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they did that. I
can't believe we did.
Yeah, we did.
But we did.
We did. We had no shame. We were doing all these things. And here's the crazy thing is we'd show up to churches. We'd show up to places. We'd ask other people, hey, how you guys doing? Oh, we're good. Hey, you guys, y'all married? It was just like, oh, so I guess we're good too.
I guess we're just on the journey of a newlyweds. Like no one talked about it, so I thought we're good.
So we're over here experimenting, do all these other things. I mean, we considered all. I'm not gonna say it. not even gonna say the things.
You're not gonna
I'm not-
say it.
Hey,
But we
just so
had-
you guys know, this is our second attempt at today's
We did
recording
take two.
because we started already earlier today, and Danley was like, "You can't be saying some of that stuff." I'm like, "Okay,
It's true.
maybe we
I
should
was
start
like-
a Patreon."
So that we can just let it on there. I don't know if that's even gonna work. I don't even think I'd share it with the Patreon.
Yeah, no.
But
Now, first of all, I'm gonna say this: that God has set us free, and we've been delivered. And the reason why we're having these conversations is because we want to be able to help somebody. We're not gonna help everybody, but we can help somebody. There are some people that are married, and you thinking that hope is all gone. You think that there's nothing that you can do. You have this bad mindset when it comes to sex, and sex is a gift from God between man and a woman for us to connect physically, emotionally, spiritually, to multiply, have kids. It is one of the greatest things given to us in our marriage. And I know it's a challenge, right? Because, and I think I'm proud enough to say this, man, that you have never once withheld sex from me.
yeah. But it goes hand in hand because you have so much respect for me. You've never forced me to have to say no.
Yeah. I've never taken sex from you.
Right.
And we realize that spousal, sexual abuse is a thing.
It's a real thing, whether it's emotional, whether it's manipulative. Like
Yeah.
people really do weaponize sex. And even if it's in a marriage, that does not mean that it's not weaponized. That does not mean that you cannot be abused in that way inside of a marriage. Marriage does not cover that. Like there are still things that
Yeah.
can be considered emotional abuse, manipulation. It's not okay. But because you've never forced me into a position where I've had to tell you no, I've never had to tell you no.
Yeah. Yeah. And that realization has just happened in the last several years. Because in the beginning years, right? So we just listed all these things that we added, things that we've done wrong. Even when we first got married, we went to Vegas for our honeymoon.
Yeah.
And we thought, we're grown, baby. We could do whatever we want to do.
Whatever we want.
We could watch whatever show we want to watch. And you remember that show that we went to?
Oh my gosh. Guys, we couldn't afford more than one show in Vegas. Everybody says, you got to go to a show. So I got us tickets to the show. It was a Circus Olay show, so I knew it'd be good. Y'all, I didn't even realize. The show was called O. It meant O for orgasm, and it was a whole show Vegas is already sexualized, but think about a show that's themed on sex. I honestly, I was so embarrassed.
Yeah,
and we ended up walking out of the show. It was so bad.
It made us uncomfortable because
made us very uncomfortable.
We've been married now for 2 days.
We were having sex, so I thought this was supposed to
first of all,
line up.
We didn't even have sex the first night we got married.
That's true. We were both sick.
We were both sick. So we've been married for 2-3 days. And now we go watch this show. And we're like, yo, this is weird. And we're not looking at each other.
No,
we're not enjoying
so
it
awkward
because it's a rated R show. And we thought
it was rated X.
We're grown thinking that we can handle it. And both you and I were both thinking different things.
Yeah.
We're both thinking different things about this show. I'm looking at it saying like, okay, bet, I guess we're doing all this.
And that's honestly what I felt of I'm supposed to do all of this? This is what I'm supposed to look like as a woman now that I'm married.
Yeah.
That's how I'm supposed to behave. That's how I'm supposed to carry myself in the bedroom. Okay, that's what I guess is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
It really is a shame that there are not more Bible-based, healthy, informational even.
I mean, there is now.
There is now. They're coming out now.
But not when we first got married.
15 years ago, there was not. One of the podcasts that I've listened to that I've really, really loved is called One Marriage. And they talk about there are 7 pillars of intimacy. And there's all these different things of ways of connecting. And that when you get all 7 of those kind of going on a rotation, your sex life is always in a good rotation because you're always connecting intimately in other ways than just sex.
Yeah, so good. Let me take a moment and pause right now and say, shout out to all of our family that's watching us on YouTube, that's listening to this on Apple Podcasts, that's listening to this on Spotify Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all the places there. If you guys wouldn't mind, especially on the listening apps, hit that rate button. Just rate. Give it a 5-star. Unless you really feel like giving us a 1-star and that's how you really feel. I guess tell us how you really feel.
Tell us how you really feel.
But if you're watching this on YouTube, right now, hit that like button. Or you know how they say, smash that like button.
Smash that like button.
No, if you're liking this, then it's simple. Just hit like. Send this to someone that you feel like this can help them. Send this to your spouse. If you're engaged, right? If you just got married, send it to somebody. If you know someone that is struggling with this topic right there, hit that link that's right there in the bio. Hit that link that's right there in the description. You can connect with us directly. Matter of fact, there's a link in there where you can send us specifically a direct line message, a text message. And so we want to hear from you guys. If these conversations are bringing you value, our goal again, it's not to just go viral, but it's to bring value. And so we really do want to help people out by letting you into our conversations. And so if you're liking this, hit like. If you really want to commit, hit that subscribe button. Send a comment. Right? Send a comment. We want to hear back from you guys, as I know some of y'all be sending some crazy comments.
Crazy comments, y'all. Okay. Some of them I don't have responses to. Before we move on, I do want to recommend this book too. This is The Good Girl's Guide to Great Sex. I've read half of it, and it's a really good one too, because I think if you are raised in church, that is one of the hardest parts of our journey, is going from this good girl vibes to married, and what does that look like? And I now feel in the last few years, I've found the happy balance of Danny Lee, who I am as a person, a daughter of the King. I am loved by my Savior, and I'm loved by my husband. And so now I can be me in the bedroom, and I don't have to equate myself to what these, sex workers are, or these R&B girls, or what the world says a hot woman looks like. I can just be me and feel loved by you and connect in that way. And that gives us the healthier sex life in a marriage, like what we talked about at the beginning.
Yeah, there's a lot of other things too, babe, that we did to get clean. To get healthy. We didn't realize some of the shows that we were watching was polluting our mind and distorting our perspective when it came to sex in our marriage. There were shows that we watched. Like, remember that one show that we used to watch, Scandal?
Talk about it, because we had to stop watching it.
We literally stopped watching it because I literally did not like what it was doing to my marriage. Watching a show about a man who's the president of the United States, married with kids, and he's shacking up with the side chick that works there.
Ooh, Jesus.
And all throughout the season, you find yourself kind of rooting for them.
100% rooting for the
homewrecker,
the homewrecker,
the side chick. But the first lady of the president, she got some weird mess going on. And then the side chick got a weird mess going on. And I'm like, and we're watching this, but we're not really talking about it. And what it's doing is planting these little seeds and thoughts in our mind. It did for me for a few years.
For sure.
So the years where I felt like, man, like things aren't working out for you and I guarantee you, go to the things that we were watching, and I can tell you where that thought was birthed from, where that thought came from. The years that I thought, maybe I can have a side chick. We're watching these shows.
And it's crazy how much sometimes it's the tiniest little seed, little idea that gets planted in our head that makes us think those things. And then we don't think it stuck. We don't think, we turn the TV show off.
You think you're mature enough?
Yeah, like that TV show doesn't impact my decisions. And then all it takes is one moment of weakness or one opportunity. And you're like, wait, hold up.
So we cut out so many different things. First of all, we prayed more. We seeked God. And the Holy Spirit put more conviction on us. So the places that we were going, we stopped going.
Absolutely.
Like the things now here's where we really struggled, because the moment we introduced porn in our marriage early on, it affected both of us. Because now I find myself not going to these websites, but anything that could trigger it, anything that can go down a rabbit trail, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, it was everywhere you could find it, a billboard, a magazine, while traveling. And so for so many years, I had to fight that thought, fight those addiction. Honestly, y'all, so some of you guys are probably thinking, you're listening to this like, man, how do I break that? I'll tell you exactly how I broke it, man. I seeked God. I prayed to the Father in heaven, Lord, I am done with this. I do not want this in my life. I will never forget the day that it broke off me. I was traveling and I was in a hotel room and I didn't like the thoughts. I didn't like the feelings. I didn't like what it was making me do in my mind. I didn't like what it was making me do to myself. I didn't like how it was making me see my wife, almost as if my wife could never live up to these women that of these in these magazines or photos or pictures or videos. And I did not like it. I remember finally one time I said, I can't stop this by myself. God, I really need you to take this. I remember one day I was in a hotel. I've dropped down to my face. I said, God, I'm done. I don't want this. Can you please take this away from me? I fully submit it to you. And I'll never forget, that was the day. Never once, ever again.
Wow.
The attraction to it left. The addiction left. All of it. There was no withdrawals. I didn't have to throw my phone in the trash.
Right.
I didn't have to it was literally instantly went away. Done. And anytime there was anything that could possibly trigger it, I knew exactly what to do. I was like, nope, not downloading that app. Nope, I'm not going down that page. Nope, I'm not going to look. Some girl at the gym, some girl at the airport, if she try and get eye contact with me, girl, you're going to die first because straight up, you would never get eye contact with me. I'm not giving it to you. I'm not giving it to you.
Thank you.
Because I don't like what it did to me in the beginning stages of our marriage where we did not know anything and we opened up ourselves to so many different things. Y'all, this is real. We live in a world that I know we see all these physical stuff that's happening, but the Bible talks about how there's a whole nother spiritual realm out there that is out to destroy us and out to kill us and take our lives. And that's what Satan wants for us.
And to kill the marriage.
He wants to destroy marriage because if he could destroy marriages, then he can destroy our lineages. He could destroy our future. He could destroy our kids. There's so many different things that can be destroyed when sex within a marriage gets distorted, and it's ruined. And so that started happening to us. It changed the way I even looked at you because the things that we were looking at. There was times where we got so bad where we over here started to contemplate what it would look like or feel like or whatever with other people. So I remember, babe, many years ago when we both made a decision of like what we wanted to do when it came to the topic of sex, how we talked about it, the things that we liked. We stopped and talked and asked like, what do you like? Yeah. What do you like that I do? What do you not like? There's sometimes finally I had to say, man, okay, you know that one thing that you be doing? Hey, I don't like it.
He's like, I don't like it.
I don't like it.
I'd have to tell you the same thing. I'm like, do this, not that.
Mm-hmm. And then there are some times I'm like, yo, I got my go-to moves. And she was like, okay, it's getting old.
Yep. Sure. Yes.
It's getting old. I'm going to need you to get some other moves.
When you do that, it doesn't do it for me. It annoys me.
Yeah. So then, guys, listen, fellas, husbands, listen. And I'm saying husbands because husbands and wives, that's where sex was created. That's what it was created for. Sometimes you just got to humble yourself and ask your wife, like, what do you want me to do?
It's true. And women, you have to speak up and say, this is what I like and this is what I don't like, or this is what happens when you do that. Like, God literally made a woman's body to just enjoy sex. Like, sex is not just, like some Christians will say, sex is only to create people, children, babies, lineage. No. It's not. Our bodies are designed to enjoy it. But if you don't speak up and if you just take on that weight of like, oh, I just have to satisfy my husband, you'll resent him. Yeah. Like, we have to speak up and say, like, this is what I like. I like when you do this, or I like when you do that. That's why you have to touch me all day throughout the house. Like, I need to feel that connection with you all day. Because if I don't feel any touch of your hand all day long, no hugs, no kiss before you go to work, no nothing. Right. And then I feel you right before bed. No, thank you.
But here's what
that's not how it's a buildup. It's all day. You got to fill the tank.
And there's sometimes I'm like, I know that I didn't fill your tank up. So I'm not even going to mess with you at night.
And that's okay. I respect that.
Because I respect you to the point where I'm just like, you know what? You're my wife and we're going to do this anyway. Because there are some codependent relationships out there, some narcissistic dudes out there that dangle cheating and affairs and stepping out on their wife just to control their wife by giving themselves up to them. I'm like, yo, dude, first of all, you're wrong for that.
So wrong.
That's wrong. So those nights when I'm like, man, I didn't fill up her tank at all day today. So what I'm not going to do is slide in my bed at night and just think my wife's just going to give it to me, even though she could, even though I know that she would, and I know that she would never withhold it. I respect you, babe, so much that I wouldn't ever dare take you. There's been some times I've tried and I can tell you weren't in the mood. And I'm like, nah, babe, you're good. It's okay. I'll go to sleep. Night, night. God bless you.
You
God
did
bless
not
you.
say God bless
Yeah.
you.
Or there's some other times I know you're okay with it. So I'll come home late at night from work or something like that, or I'm traveling and you're like, just wake me up.
That's
Like,
true.
"All right,
I do tell you
fine.
that
I'm
sometimes.
gonna
Like,
wake you
listen, I
up.
can't stay awake till you get here, but when you're here, wake me up.
I'm gonna wake you up.
I
And
will say
or
that.
if you're asleep, can you go ahead and consent right now while you're up?
You'll wake me up. I'm a light sleeper. That's not okay. Sorry, it just went another way.
Yeah, we're joking, guys. By the way, if you guys can tell, I'll never say just joking. I never say JK. I just feel like that's a bad joke. If you guys say just joking, like, then I guess, I don't know.
Either way,
Maybe.
women and wives, you still have to consent at all times. So husbands,
times.
you still need consent from your wife.
Yeah.
Period. Point blank.
Yeah.
Nothing at the end of that sentence.
Yeah, the Bible says, like, husbands, for us to love our wives like Christ loved the church. And I always have this thought, and I've said it so many different times, that Christ died for the church. It's the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah.
And so for me, the way I see it is, even though we're one, my body is yours and your body is mine, like, if you're not in the mood, if you're not feeling it, I'm going to just be like, okay, cool. To make that sacrifice, and I'm not going to pout. I'm not going to threaten you about leaving, or like, if you don't give it up, someone else going to give it to me. Like,
Right.
that's
But
jacked
to
up.
be fair, on my side, there are a lot of times that I decide I'm going to serve you.
Yeah.
Because Christ died for the church, but the church serves Christ. And so there are a lot of times I'm not in the mood. I
Yeah.
am really tired. The kids took everything out of me. I'm stressed out about groceries, bills, whatever I got to do. But I am going to be open to you, and I am going to engage, and I am going to like lower those walls of what I talked
Yeah.
about, because it's an emotional connection. Like, women, we almost have to have that emotional connection to be able to do it.
Yeah, because
And-
I mean, speaking, and even in that same context in the Bible, it said for wives to submit
Right.
yourselves to your husband.
So there are times where I don't feel like it, or I may not want to, but because I love you and because
Yeah.
my role is to serve you, I'm not going to make you not ask, or I'm not going to make you get turned away. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to say, okay, what we say is like, well, you're just going to have to wake me up, or
Yeah, I'll
you're
get
just
it
going to have to
started.
inspire me.
I said, I'll get it started right here.
Literally, like,
So what
you're
I
just
do
gonna have to
is,
inspire me.
so what I do is I drop the temperature in the house super low to where
Yo.
it's super cold, where she needs me to snuggle.
It was 67 degrees in this house today when we started recording, guys. 67. I told this man, this is not healthy working conditions.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have to snuggle. I hope you better have some time today after this recording right now.
Anyways, I love this conversation though, because it does make space for, and what we hope is that other couples will turn this off when we're done and say, okay, what are some of the things that you're going into our relationship with? We're getting married next month. What are some things you're walking in with? What are some boundaries that we're going to set? What feel okay for us? And knowing also that those things can change.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are things that, again, we thought we were fine with allowing certain things into our marriage of a show. Something as innocent as a mainstream cable show.
Yep.
And then we decided, wait a minute.
Yep.
We can't allow this into our marriage anymore. So knowing that those things will grow and evolve, and always having that conversation open.
Oh yeah, man. There's a lot of stuff we cut out. I mean, we even drew hard lines when it came to single friends that was living crazy, wild sexual lives.
Yep.
Right? Because especially for you, like, you had some coworkers that would come
Lord,
to work the next day talking about all the stuff that they
sure
did.
would.
Right? And those thoughts get in your mind.
It's true.
That's the type of world that we live in. Right? We had to cut out friends like that. We had to cut out shows. Right? The stuff that we were doing together, we stopped doing certain things that we knew was polluting our sexual life when it came to our marriage.
Yeah.
We completely cut it out. And I'm proud to say, babe, like, our sex now is the best it has ever been. We can probably count on one hand the times it was awkward.
It's true.
But I'm grateful, man, because God restored us.
Yeah.
Like, we enjoy, if I have to have sex with you for the rest of my life, I'm good.
I'm good.
And
I
but it
will
wasn't
say-
always that way, because at
True.
the beginning and in the middle, we started thinking, man, what would it look like? What do we
need to add? What do we need to do this? Like, almost as if it wasn't good enough with just me and you.
Yeah.
And I think it was the connection of all those three things that we said sex is,
Yeah.
the physical, the emotional, the spiritual.
Yeah.
And now that those connections have grown so deep and so many layers, including the times of us where we had a really hard season, including the times where we had to rebuild our whole marriage
Yeah.
after year 10.
Oh yeah.
All of those things make it even better now.
We had this gonna rock some people. We had sex during our toughest times in our
We
marriage.
sure did. Still did. Yep.
There was one time I said something way out of pocket. We were in one of our toughest times in the middle of marriage therapy. Wasn't sure if we could do it. Like, wasn't sure we could make it through. We had sex that night. It was great. We enjoyed it. And I was right when we were just done. I was like, hey, just so you know, we're still not good.
Oh my God, I forgot.
I was like, just so you know, we're still working some things out.
Guys, this is the miracle power of Jesus, that this man is living here today. I could have killed you after you said that. Are you freaking
Well,
joking
because what happened
me?
is we just finished having sex. It was good sex. It was like after marriage. It was after counseling.
It was after therapy. You're right.
So we had sex. It was good. And like, but you were like being all mushy of like, oh, I'm so glad like we're still good and working and just like we didn't lose ourselves. And I was like, babe, we're still not in a good place. You just
It's literally textbook. My emotions and your like literal
right.
like brain, like
'Cause
how
you know why?
men are
Yeah.
so much more mental. That's why you guys are stimulated by porn. That's why you are stimulated by pictures, is because it's a mental thing
Yep.
for you guys. But for us,
Even-
it's an emotional
Yep.
thing.
Even today, I'll say it right now. Even today at the gym, seeing all these ladies around here, and one's working out right there. I was like, I'm going over there.
You better put your blinders on.
I'm going over there. And what it has nothing to do with I'm weak. It has everything to do with what you just said.
You're human.
I'm human, and I look at something. If I look at it long enough, then I get attracted to it. Then it becomes something, and it can get in me. And I'm strong enough now to say, nope. I see you. I see you. I see you. All y'all good looking ladies. I'm good. I'm gonna go ahead and do my bench presses over there
In the corner.
or I'm out. And so I can say that right now because what you just said, it's a real thing. So that night, when we had sex that night, I get it for you. It's that emotional connection.
Which is what I needed.
So it's all connected together.
Right.
For me, it was the physical connection. We got that. We got it on. It was good. And you're
But
like,
we got a lot of emotional work to do.
and you was like, oh, I'm so glad like we're good. And I'm like, babe, we're not good. Just so you know, this sex right here was good. But we're not good. We're good now.
We're
and we
good
made
now.
it through. And by the grace of God, we've been set free. Sex is better now than it's ever been. I keep saying that because we enjoy it. We're going to do it today.
Lord.
Like it's so many different things, but man, I really just want to encourage you guys. If you guys are in a season where you're struggling in your marriage when it comes to your sex life, we're not therapists, we're not experts, we're not none of that.
We
Honestly,
sure are not.
We're just a married couple that loves God and that loves each other, and we love others. And our goal is to really help other people. And so if you feel like you're struggling in that category, hit us up, send us a message. We may not even have the answer for you. And if we don't have the answer for you, we're going to point you to someone who does have the answer
Give you
for
resources.
you. But more importantly, this channel is for the purpose of seeing restoration in relationships.
Yeah.
And I believe that, and we believe that here at Let's Dig, the podcast, that life is so much better when the relationships are better.
Yeah.
Our relationship with God, our relationship with other people, and then our relationship with ourselves, man. Everything is tied to it. Your next step is based off of your relationship that you have. How life is with your coworkers, with your boss, with your leaders, with your spouse, with your kids, with your cousins, your mommy, your daddy, your landscape guy. It don't matter who it is, your neighbor. Relationships is key to everything in his life. Listen, life was not meant to be done alone. And if anyone says, I'm going to do this life all by myself, like, I'm sorry to hear that, man. You're missing out so much on what life has to offer. So when it comes to marriage, when it comes to this topic right here, and matter of fact, let me just say this right now. I gotta say, I'm sorry to Danielle's mom. I forgot that you was listening to this.
Oh,
I
Mom,
hope I was.
don't watch
I meant
it.
to give a disclaimer to her at the beginning.
I'm gonna text her before this.
And I was gonna text your mom.
premieres.
Text your mom, and be like, "Hey, you probably shouldn't listen to today's recording."
She watches every single episode.
I know, and then every single
needs to
episode
skip
she
this
hits you
one.
up. But I
Yeah.
appreciate her. I love her support. We've
love you.
been feeling support from her since day one.
Yeah.
But love you guys. Appreciate you guys in this season. If you guys are enjoying these conversations, yo, for real, family, listen, hit us up. Send us a message. We want to know what else do we need to talk about. If there's something you want us to talk about, just I mean, just
Yeah.
hit us up.
Let us know.
Hit us up, man.
We love y'all. Keep digging.
Peace.